Welcome back, everyone. I hope we had a good lunch and had an opportunity to share some insights. Hope you got a lot out of the event so far. This is hopefully going to be an interactive session. We're fortunate enough here today to have three customers, key customers of Flowgear. They're going to share their experiences with Flowgear, what made them successful, some ideas around Flowgear implementation that you can put into practice in your own environments. We'll keep it free form. The idea behind this is to sort of see where the conversation goes. So firstly, we have Mpho Musenwa from Metrofile. Metrofile is a household name. We trust them. I think everyone in this room probably trusts them to store and protect our data. And so we're really excited to hear your insights today. Craig is here from Genasys. You're a founder of Genasys. Yeah. And Genasys is a leading provider of platform as a service in the insurance industry. So you'll be able to share some insights into regulated industry and how to put this into practice in some industries that are notoriously difficult to get through governance, get through committee, and deliver meaningful outcomes for customers. And Lauren, you do a lot. Lauren's Managing Director at Bidvest Advisory Services, and we're really looking forward to hearing how you actually source the answers that prove and deliver on the commitments that your customers have in terms of governance, the evidence gathering. These are difficult challenges. So thank you guys for joining me today.
Thank you.
So Craig, if you could maybe start out and just give us a little bit of background on how you use Flowgear in your business.
Yeah. So I'm one of the founders of Genasys. The business started back in 1999, so 25 years old. So I kind of came out of college straight into software development. So Genasys's real value proposition is a full software as a service, end-to-end insurance management solution. So we're a software house. We focus on actually building and owning our own software that facilitates all of the various different insurance capabilities that our customers need. And I think we took a decision probably about 5-6 years ago when I first met Dan and the team on the whole buy versus build question. How much do you try and build yourself? And traditionally, engineers and developers want to build everything. So we took a good look at what capabilities do we want to be able to provide to our customers, and how best do we do that? And Flowgear popped up, and we went, well, this is great. So one of our big drivers has always been a no-code approach to be able to implement insurance super quickly for our customers in an agile manner. So we had a whole lot of no-code configuration capability to build insurance product, but our biggest pain point was integration, funny enough, right? Every insurance company thinks they do everything like every other insurance company does, but they don't, right? Everything's different integration points. And traditionally, we ended up having to build a whole lot of custom code, manage it, maintain it, support it. And that's where Flowgear really came in. So, we've got a full REST API, webhook capability, but actually to leverage that capability, Flowgear fitted perfectly into that space. So we've taken this ecosystem approach of do what we do well, which is the core insurance backend platform, and bring in various different ecosystem partners. So we've got around 30 odd, but Flowgear actually underpins a lot of that because it's the glue between connecting all of these capabilities together. So it allows us to be able to provide this Flowgear, so we essentially sell it behind our platform to customers. They then sign up with Flowgear, and initially it's an integration into our platform, but then pretty quickly after that, they see value in the wider business and start implementing Flowgear elsewhere. And many of our customers, even one of our customers here today, Generic, they configure their own workflows, being certified. So we really use it as a key integration platform to external platforms in an ecosystem. But then secondly, what we've also found is it's helped build custom workflows for insurance companies. So, one of our large customers in the UK want to pay claims automatically. So they've got a Flowgear workflow running, validating fraud detection and all kinds of things. And going from 0% automation on claims processing, they're now sitting at about a 92% without any human intervention. So, it's a great use case and great story that supports the insurance industry, and Flowgear has really underpinned that for us.
So everyone here can come to you and get their insurer to pay them automatically, is basically what I'm hearing.
Yes.
So Ron, as Chief Audit Executive at Bidvest, can you maybe share with us what you're looking for in terms of audit assurance and integrated digital strategies at Bidvest?
Sure. Can you hear me? So for those of you that don't know Bidvest, it is a hugely decentralized organization. There are over 300 companies. There's probably about 180 operating entities and about 120 odd IT environments. And the IT environments are completely decentralized. There's no common anything. The businesses are encouraged and empowered to have that autonomous management style and to manage the business in the way that they see fit. So every single one of those IT environments has different systems, from payrolls to ERPs to whatever. And from an audit point of view, sitting at the center, we lacked visibility into the risks of those IT environments. It was bad enough consolidating financial data from 120 GLs. Try and consolidate IT-related data, what their security posture looks like, or, how strong is their change management processes, or what does their backup strategies look like. It was very hard sitting from the center trying to integrate 120 IT environments. So essentially what my team did is they built a digital auditor, and her name is Alice. You may know her. She's a woman because she can multitask. Alice needed to integrate into all these IT environments and extract the data that she required to audit them. And we wanted to do it on a more real-time basis, because things are so dynamic and changing in the IT environments that, as soon as an audit is finished and the auditor walks out, things change. So we wanted to bring that more real-time or near real-time visibility into the risks of the IT environments. So we needed to find a way to connect to data from a myriad of systems in a continuous manner. And that's where Flowgear came in to help us build that integration platform.
Thank you. Mpho, can you share a little bit of insight as to where Metrofile is applying Flowgear and why you selected the platform?
Yeah, sure. I think pretty much everybody is here because they've got more than one system that they need to integrate. That's why we're all here. We were also there about 3.5 years ago. Metrofile, from a business or group perspective, we operate across 5 countries. There's about 9 businesses in the group. And at the time before Flowgear, they all ran different systems. So how we did this was we agreed on a group IT strategy. And one of those strategies was the integration strategy. So we're very intentional about having a single point of integration for all the businesses in the group. Another strategy was to consolidate our finance systems into one system or one platform, which we went with Sage X3, which out of the box we have connectors into through Flowgear. Then we started on that journey. So as it stands now, 7 out of the 9 businesses run our month-end processes through Flowgear. So one platform for all the businesses in the group, except the 2 that we still need to do. And so far we've had 2 financial year ends with no issues, no audit findings from a risk and governance perspective. So yeah.
And if you had to compare, how long it took you to process before Flowgear and now 2 audits later, what are some of the benefits that you've?
All right, so on average, we used to run our month-end over a 5-day period. Now we run it in under 2 days. In one of our entities, we managed to reduce it from around 3 days, 3 to 4 days, into less than 2 hours.
Wow, that's a small improvement.
Yeah. I must just mention, though, that with especially integrating so many systems, you really have to be careful and spend time with your data. Understand your data, understand your inputs, understand the end state. Having a central point of integration means everything go well on a single platform, but the opposite is true. If something goes wrong, it goes wrong across 7 different entities, and that's a big mess to clean up. So
That's good advice.
yeah.
So Lauren, in terms of the audit, you're looking for anomalies, right? You're looking for things that are not following the principles or the covenants that are within the business. It must be a challenge then to measure success with integration in so many disparate systems. So how do you track that your single backplane for the reporting is delivering value for the business?
I don't know if anyone would actually consider an auditor successful. We are hated. I think for us, success looks like if we've evaluated the IT environment fairly, and that the audit results are a fair reflection of what the risks are in the business. So to be able to get data that is correct and to be able to analyze that data correctly and provide valuable insights into the data we've collected, that's what success would look like for us. I think for us, speed of actually getting to that data, we still have to build our own connectors in a lot of instances because a lot of the systems at Bidvest are very old and very unique, but where there are more generic systems, I think Flowgear works very nicely in that situation because we can build a generic flow and then we can use more junior resources to do the configuration per company. And that helps speed to deployment. And it also helps in our skill set because we can then employ not very senior unicorn integration developers, but more juniors and even support staff can help. So that contributes quite a lot to our success as well. As auditors, and God we trust, the rest we audit, so we want logs and we want to see what goes wrong and how to fix it. And then also the scheduling. Not everyone wants real time. Not everyone wants to be hit with real-time audit results. Sometimes it can be overwhelming and it can be painful. So we're able to schedule the flows and at what time and how frequent the audits need to be run.
So it sounds like you're a very good data psychologist. Craig, how have you seen the uptake with your customers in terms of seeing Flowgear as an enabler and helping you deliver results quicker?
Yeah, so I think, look, initially we used it, so I guess Genasys is a bit different because we're a Flowgear partner and we're utilizing the platform to enable value to our customers, a bit different, I guess, to my other colleagues. But so we use it obviously as an enabler for us to deliver value to customers quicker. And we did some quick calcs, and it's an 80% speed improvement on delivering customer value, if not more, depending on the requirements. But from a customer perspective, the Flowgear platform demos extremely well, right? So we would actually showcase our platform side by side, Flowgear, and customers then see the value straight away. And we obviously map that back to use cases that they're trying to solve, and then they get really excited.
And are you needing to create custom connectors to source systems in your customers?
So we've created a Genasys connector, so we've been down that route, and it was a lot easier than I think we originally thought. And it adds a lot of value. So maybe if I can expand on that, the Genasys platform is very dynamic from an insurance product model. If you're selling motor, you're asking certain questions. If you're selling home insurance, you're asking different questions. So our model is super dynamic. So by us creating a Genasys connector within Flowgear, it basically normalizes that dynamicness so that you could still use the mapping tools. So we've got a connector, but then we do utilize REST connectors where we're connecting out to some weird and wonderful bespoke platforms, drop points where there's a bit of legacy that we still need to utilize. And then we've used some of the out of the box connectors. So we've done Dynamics integrations, we've done Salesforce integrations, coming back or bi-directional in and out of the platform.
Well, for everyone's benefit, a drop point is a service that you can install on-prem behind a firewall, and that takes care of the connection back to the Flowgear cloud, and it stitches those things together, load shedding and lines going down. It means that you can use legacy systems that weren't built for cloud, and they can share data with the more modern systems as well.
A good example we used for one of the banks is the large core banking platforms are very file-based type integrations. And then we can actually grab that information, validate it, sanitize it, pull it into our APIs.
Have you made use of the drop points in terms of legacy systems? I see you smiling. Mpho?
Yeah, no, we do have some legacy systems, and we do utilize drop points. The beauty of that is through the transformation layer, you always guarantee that the output is uniform. So whether you're fetching data from legacy or new age systems, the output is always the same.
Paul, maybe you could just share with everybody your process for making Flowgear accessible to the rest of the business. Is it a formal process? Do they have to write a spec? In our business, I mentioned in our talk earlier, people are pretty free-form. Just be interested to get everybody's insights into different ways of unlocking the potential of integration in the business.
Yeah. So how we got to Flowgear was through when we started our consolidation project. We had an implementation partner at the time when we were consolidating SysPro, which also connects to Flowgear. And at that time, we reached out to Flowgear and requested for proof of concept. And I strongly recommend anybody that hasn't gone into the platform to take them up on the proof of concept offer. We did that with Flowgear's help, and they also helped us in terms of putting together a business case with our executives. But from that point on, the onboarding process is fairly simple. I would imagine most of you guys will have security assessments and things like that need to be done on your third-party vendors. We went through that with Flowgear. I think it was Daniel, right in the beginning, that helped us with that. Then after that, it's a fairly simple process. They worked with us when we did our first integration. We actually did that one together for one of our small entities. And after that, we were able to run on our own. In terms of support, available whenever you need support. In our case, we haven't had to need a lot of support.
So have you built an integration capability internally?
Correct.
And how are you managing those skills and developing capacity internally?
So fortunately for us, there's a group IT department. We have skills internally that we're trained, and we have reviews every quarter to go through our workflows and make sure that everything works, but everybody is kept up to date.
Lauren, how have you handled the skills gap? Because integration is quite a unique mindset. It's quasi-developer, quasi-business analyst, and with the number of children that Alice needs to talk to, that can't be easy.
Yeah, I think it was you that said that integration was your pain point. It was ours too. We can do nothing without the data. And it's one thing getting the data, but then if the data is dirty, it's also a problem. But okay. So we've also got a team of developers. But you're right. I think the part that's often underestimated is that business analysis side. Because I think Flowgear simplifies how you can build the flow, but you can't abdicate the responsibility of actually understanding your own systems and data structures and how that data hangs together. Because you can throw a dev at it, but I think you've got to spend time with your data and understanding it before you build the flow. So skill set wise, we need both, but it has definitely helped in the required skill set doesn't have to be a very senior integration developer all the time. Maybe to build the generic flow, but then to do the configures into other systems, a more junior team member can help.
And from a group perspective, there must have been quite a lot of compliance and vetting that needed to take place before you unleashed
The beast.
the beast.
It's ongoing. Yep.
What advice would you give to people in the room around how to deal with the vetting process, either on Flowgear itself, but presumably shadow IT is a problem that everyone in this room is going to face. New systems being added to the mix all the time, you're going to find the audit irregularities. That problem obviously needs to be solved before you integrate with these systems. So what advice would you give with everyone?
I mean, so the best advice on the vetting process is to be proactive, because often in our teams we find a cool tool, we put it in, and then we've got to deal with our compliance officer as why we put it in, and then she'll find a whole bunch of problems that we didn't know about. So that to proactively get that vendor vetted upfront, I think goes a long way. And I think the challenges that we've dealt with is over poppy, and just making sure that we tick those boxes. And more recently, what role does AI play in the tools that you're using, especially if there is AI capability within the tools and where the decisions are being made, and if something goes wrong, where does the liability sit? Are your contracts updated to reflect those liabilities, those liability clauses from your service providers? And then also if you're using Flowgear or any other service provider in providing services to your customers, what does that AI capability look like, and where do those liability clauses sit? So we've spent quite a lot of time trying to figure that out.
And Mpho, you don't have a shadow IT problem with Metrofile.
It's always shadow IT.
So how do you make it safe for businesses to come to you when they have an integration requirement, when maybe they've implemented systems, maybe even for some time, without getting them vetted beforehand, so that you can at least audit what they're doing or unlock the potential around getting a uniform data structure between those systems?
So for us, what we do is, I think you mentioned it earlier, when you're sitting in meetings and you're brainstorming, an integration idea always comes up.
Mm-hmm.
So our approach is we think about the idea. Firstly, there has to be a problem that needs to be fixed. And everything that we do at Group IT has to benefit the group. It's only in very limited cases where we will have an exception where something is done for a specific entity, but we try to standardize and have everything done for the group. We have a forum where we go through requirements, vet the requirements, and understand the commercial merits of the requirements, and then put them through for business analysis, etc.
Okay, so you're taking a macro approach.
Correct.
If it can be generalized across the whole group, that's your gatekeeper for if you're going to build an integration service. That's kind of contrasts what you have, Craig, where if a customer has a requirement in one end system, Genasys is going to tailor that because it's motor or it's
So I think to the selection, and I think it's exactly what you say, right? You should use tech for the right reasons, not tech for the sake of it. So understand the problem, find the right solution to solve that. So we've done a lot of accreditation internally within our team so that we know where Flowgear fits and where it's maybe where there's an alternative. I think our biggest challenge, which is maybe some advice for implementation of Flowgear, is the tool is excellent. But if you let a bunch of developers wild on using Flowgear, you can build anything, right? So what we've ended up having to do is to control and manage a lot of the structure that gets implemented. How do we re-implement assets we've built within Flowgear and standardize? Because every next dev would jump on solving a problem and they'll build this massive complex workflow where we need to guide from an architecture perspective. So we've got an architecture layer within the business to make sure that certain standards of how Flowgear is implemented is implemented across our customers so we can support them and maintain it.
And how are you handling things like release management and change control when you've got this dynamic platform that can pretty much do whatever
Yeah.
the devs want to do with it.
Yeah, so it's a complex problem because we have a release process that obviously ties into Flowgear change release processes. So we're using Azure DevOps and pipeline deployments using Ansible, and especially with the new version of Flowgear now, being able to hook into, get behind the scenes and source and manage that. So revision management is key. That, obviously any dependencies we have on any Flowgear processes form part of that pipeline and deployment. So your typical software development lifecycle will promote into a QA environment, into UAT, pre-prod, prod, but very, very automated. Large organizations, we don't even have access to prod environments.
So you're using the GitHub integration now?
Yeah.
So for everyone's benefit, GitHub is a source control system. I mentioned it briefly in my talk earlier on. But we've abstracted everything in Flowgear with this visual canvas that you've seen demonstrated. But behind that, it's a text document that stores the definition of every single workflow. And with the latest version of Flowgear, all of your workflows can be managed and viewed and edited actually as text files. And so from a compliance and governance perspective, maybe one day you want to move from Flowgear and you need to be able to move that data to another system. All of these files actually describe your integration language. But it also means that you can scan across those files in text. Let's take something very simply. Let's say you wanted to change the scheduler that runs at midnight to 10 o'clock. There might be 20 workflows that have that scheduler. You can literally do a search and replace. And then because Flowgear has release management, that can go into dev, and then they can go into UAT and testing without having to go into all the canvases. So it's interesting to see that you're making use of that new functionality because it's kind of hidden underneath. And I'd encourage anyone who wants to practice source control disciplines to maybe explore that more.
Yeah, because you often have a lot of interdependencies. You've got various changes going in that require various different versions of workflows, and you need to manage all of that. So the source control really does help.
So, Lauren, from an advice perspective, what are the things people shouldn't do with Flowgear?
I think we've touched on two really big ones. So you're right, just allowing, because the tool is good, but what your devs do with it can be wild. So to get that in hand. And then the one that I mentioned previously is really, it's not, I don't know why we expected Flowgear to be magic and solve all our own data problems. There's still data that we've got to deal with and understand our data and the issues with our data, and it will integrate with it, but if it's dirty data, it's dirty data. Yeah. So I think just having a handle on that as well, like the tool is great, but there's peripheral issues around that you still need to manage. Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I'll agree with that. I think for me, data and process. So understand your data, also understand your process.
Yeah. Right. So with Bidvest acquiring a business probably on a weekly basis, how do you go about educating the businesses around Alice and what it'll mean when your team starts to audit them, what it will mean from a data perspective, skills capability within their businesses so that they can interact with you?
It's been an interesting journey because culturally Bidvest is very decentralized. So when a business is onboarded, it's very much like we've bought you because you know what you're doing, so go do it. But times have changed and governance has changed, and now Alice is there. So we've had to figure out how we onboard businesses in a smarter way, and just understand what we're doing and why. So we have like an onboarding checklist now, and we definitely using the Bidvest IT forum more and more to build an IT community and get the message distributed that way. Yeah.
How do you, Craig, build talent in this space?
So we've utilized, obviously, the Flowgear certification and training, which I think is incredible. It really shows devs how to build, what to do, what not to do. Presented really well, and then the certification. So we've think we've got about 20 odd certified Flowgear engineers within the business. And then all our customers, if they're going to take on, they do the same certification.
Right. And from a skills perspective, Mpho, have you got enough integration specialists in the business? Is it a bottleneck for you?
Yeah, we have at the moment 3 people that look after Flowgear.
Right.
And we feel that is enough at the moment, but we'll probably upskill.
And is that considered a cost center in the business? Is it right? So how do you measure an ROI for this business unit? And I know your answer, which is why I'm asking you the question.
Well, it's to be honest with you, it's very difficult. The finance guys have not done those sort of that exercise yet for us. But from a volumes perspective, since we implemented Flowgear, we've done over 1 billion just in invoices, which is a significant amount. I mean, if I compare that to the monthly fee or the annual fee that we pay, it's next to nothing.
So I'm hearing we should probably increase the charges. So in terms of a roadmap, right, you've mentioned that you've established some minimum criteria in generalization across the group. What use cases do you foresee for the business going forward? And is Flowgear currently able to do it? You just haven't looked to do it yet? Or are there some things that Flowgear doesn't do for you today that might be bottlenecks preventing you from taking on certain strategic initiatives?
Yeah. So part of our roadmap was to do finance first. Then after finance, we'll do client data, CRM. Mm-hmm. We're going to be going for Microsoft Dynamics 365, which, once again, connector out of the box for that. Once we've done that, we're looking at building our own connector to help surface or service our clients through the platform. Okay,
so the client-facing side of things is something that's still on the roadmap. And in terms of Flowgears, you saw the co-pilot coming up. How do you see that, Craig, featuring in the services that you take to market?
I think it's going to add a lot of value. Firstly, the documentation piece. I think Daniel mentioned it earlier. Documentation always comes at the end, and specifically in the demo around problem solving. I think the challenge with a lot of these AI and co-pilots is it almost creates lazy devs because they don't understand what is being built. But I think the way I've seen Flowgear approach it is great. So I think the AI bit is going to help our devs document and problem solve.
And Lauren, you mentioned AI kind of in passing in your last answer, but how comfortable is Bidvest unleashing AI on the business? And what advice would you give to everybody in the audience around the kind of things you need to think about, or things that keep you up at night from an AI perspective?
So from a Bidvest point of view, there's pockets of excellence where companies have completely embraced AI and it's embedded in their businesses. And then we've got the other end of the spectrum where, they don't even know what AI is. So quite a diverse spectrum of where AI sits. This year, we've done a deep dive on AI, and I think that was really just to excite the group as a whole because it's exciting and there's so much benefit that AI can bring. I think that was where we started to try and just unleash their imaginations on how AI can be used in the group. And that's very hard as an auditor because all we want to do is just tell them where the risks are. So we had to really just,
Sell the risk.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot underway. There's a lot of exploration. I think there's an inherent nervousness, possibly because they don't know what they don't know, and that's scary. So, we brought in our lawyers and we helped them unpack what were the contractual risks around AI. We looked at use cases around bias and how to handle that, privacy, confidentiality. So I think it's a journey of unpacking so that it's less scary, especially for the executives, because I don't think they're against it. I think they're for it. But it's how to manage it responsibly.
And the steering committee is obviously your communication forum
Correct.
to share that information.
And also just looking at, we're also looking at it, just AI on ESG. And, without responsible AI, we're going to use more power than what we use currently. So
Yeah.
with all these things that have just, so it's an exploration journey. Some companies are way down that road, but others aren't. And it's exciting, I think.
Yeah, just from a segmentation of data point of view, Daniel mentioned that Flowgear delivers virtual machines that are dedicated on the new platform to each customer, but you can also hook into your own dedicated Microsoft OpenAI data sets. And that was a pretty important decision early on, so that we wouldn't have to worry about commingling of data. And I'd encourage you guys to set up some sort of pilot sooner rather than later. My experience has been that it's not that mysterious, actually. The data sets that you work with, you don't need to be a hugely complex data scientist with deep skills. You just need to understand the source system, and you can pretty quickly get some really, really good answers from these systems. So start small. And osmosis is incredibly powerful. I don't know if you found that in your area, Mpho.
Yeah. So for us, we haven't gone the AI route yet. And I think this is one of those conversations where you have to be honest with yourself. We're just not ready,
Right.
We need to first make sure that you have proper classification, data tagging and labeling and things like that in place. But it's very exciting. We'll definitely explore it in a controlled environment. But for now, we're not there yet.
Perfect. So now I'm going to unleash all of you on the panel and ask if there are any questions that you have for the panelists today.
Is Alice commercially available to use?
Yeah.
Alice is seeing other people. Any other questions, guys? Just by a show of hands, maybe in the audience, who's got an active AI project underway? Right, so quite a small subset. Any other questions? Well, I want to thank you guys for sharing your insights. Everybody will be around if you've got some specific questions. I've certainly learned a lot today. And thank you for your partnership. It's been great having you guys as customers.
Thank you.
Thank you.